Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Good morning and welcome to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station, and or FM translator, and live around the world at michaeldukeshow.com, where we have the audio-only stream, the podcast links to our social media site, and so much more. TGIFF. Thank goodness it's Firearms Friday, which is the one day a week that we dedicate to the Second Amendment and to discussions of a two-way nature. That's what it's all about here on the big radio program. First and foremost, greetings and welcome from the cosmic hamlet by the sea. I am broadcasting live this morning from the Cowboy Suite at Bear Creek Winery and Lodging. They've got a couple bungalows here, which are just fantastic. And I'm looking out over the trees into the beautiful Ketchimack Bay this morning as I get ready to host the Bear Creek Music Festival, which is going on tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. It's a benefit for student scholastic scholarships for those kids who excel, and it helps them out for going to school. And it's a great community event, great music. Food and friends, and it's I'm glad to see it's back. It's been a couple of years, since COVID times, but this will be the third time I've hosted it, and looking forward to enjoying some time tomorrow with everybody down here in Homer, who's going to be part of it with us. So, anyway, special thanks to Bear Creek for putting me up here as we enjoy a little bit of cool and windy and cloudy. This is the state. I mean, the whole state right now is in this funk of, where's summer? If I heard this once, I heard it about 30 times just yesterday as I transited. I met with some clients yesterday up in the Kenai area and was talking with people, and it was just like, man, where is I don't know where it is. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that summer is eventually going to turn up, and I just hope it falls on a weekend. That's all I'm hoping for. And then and then maybe we'll get an Indian summer too. I mean, I can dream, right? I can dream. That's what I'm hoping for. I can dream. So today on Firearms Friday, what do we got? Well, it's just you and me first and foremost. So we're going to talk about some stuff and get kind of a feel for what's happening around the country. And then we're going to take some phone calls, maybe some open forum about gun rights and gun stuff, and just kind of in general. We're just having a good time. We're just trying to let our hair down for the rest of the week. This is our relaxation session. I like to call it my weekly therapy session, a little bit of 2-hour stuff. And then we're going to finish up the show today with Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com, who's going to come on board and share with us and talk about the streams and the entertainment news. And it's just a little bit of a lighter side. It's a lighter side thing where we can relax and hang out and do whatever it is, just to kind of get the kind of get the weekend started. So, what are some of the stories that we're going to be talking about here today? Well, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, there's some head scratchers, and more. Hunter Biden's back in the news this time, embracing a legal defense that utilizes a court decision that his father said was an affront to the Constitution. It was a travesty. When the Supreme Court decided last June that the Brune decision was, gave that decision, the Hunter Biden's dad, Joe, he said that the Second Amendment rights, the expansion of that was a travesty. It's a travesty for gun control. And he denounced it as just a horrific slap in the face to many other, the president. The president had a lot to say. Let's just put it that way. But his son has decided that this is a great approach, and his lawyers are all about it. It looks like he didn't care about the laws on the books back in the day, pretty much in any way. I mean, this is back in we're talking, of course, about all the pictures and the information that came off of his laptop. The Justice Department is still trying to decide whether or not to bring charges. He's facing potential charges for violating the law regarding being a drug owner and having firearms and having filled out a 4473 and lied under things that he wasn't using illegal substances and everything else. But his attorneys are now citing the Brune decision in an effort to keep those charges at bay, according to the New York Times. To Hunter Biden's father, the Supreme Court decision last June that expanded Second Amendment rights is a travesty for gun control. But to Hunter Biden's lawyers, it's been an opening. In the months after the court's landmark ruling that gave people a broad right to carry guns outside the home, Mr. Biden's lawyers told Justice Department prosecutors, who were investigating whether to charge him in connection with a gun purchase, that a prosecution of him would likely be ruled moot, according to two people briefed on the matter. While it's not uncommon for defense lawyers to point to shifting precedents to stave off prosecution, the circumstances of this argument, like so many, are striking. A president's son is invoking a court decision his father has described as an affront to common sense and the Constitution, and staking that claim on a majority opinion written by Justice Clarence Thomas, a vigorous supporter of gun rights, whom many Democrats see as having helped enable the gun lobby. The U.S. Attorney in Delaware, David C. Weiss, is wrapping up his investigation into Hunter Biden as uncertainty mounts about the legality of many gun laws after the court's landmark ruling last summer, which has led to a wide-ranging assault on existing firearms laws. Mr. Biden is under investigation for several potential offenses, including whether he lied on a federal firearms application in 2018 when asked if he was addicted to drugs. His lawyers, including the white-collar defense lawyer Christopher Clark, have argued that any charge against him would likely be thrown out after federal appeals courts rule on two major challenges that cite the Brune decision as precedent. Now, here's part of the problem. I mean, first and foremost, there is the delicious, delicious irony of this whole situation. The one court decision that the president has argued is it's an affront to the Constitution. His son is now using to try and dodge a legal bullet. The problem, though, is that while there are a lot of gun control laws on the books that will, probably be cut to the curb by the Brune decision, the prohibition on gun ownership by habitual drug users may not be one of them. In several of the cases that we've discussed over the last, couple, 3 months here, there have been several instances of historical firearms laws that prevent the possession of firearms by people who were continually intoxicated. Now, they talked about intoxication, and it was in regards to alcohol, but this may not be something that he can dodge the bullet on in that way, because he was a noted crack user, right? I mean, this is not like this is in his own photographs. You can see what's going on there. Furthermore, all these actions against Hunter don't have to be just gun charges. If you go back to the New York Times article again, in the final things there where they were talking about, he's under investigation for several potential offenses, including whether he lied on a federal firearms application. Now, regardless of what Brune said, and this is what we've talked about in the past when it comes to, for example, in this state, legal marijuana usage. It may be legal at a state level to use marijuana, but according to the feds, if you use marijuana in any way, shape, or form, and you go to a gun dealer and fill out a 4473 to purchase a new firearm, you are committing, and say that you are not using illicit substances like marijuana, which is still illegal at the federal level. You just committed a felony. You perjured yourself on a federal form, which is a, love it or hate it, that's the deal. That is a felony. And here is again Hunter Biden. He filled out that form, and you're lying under oath. And no matter what, I don't think that would be impacted by Brune at all in this way. But the whole thing that is hysterical about this, of course, is the utter hypocrisy of President Joe Biden absolutely trying to demonize the fact that the Brune decision came out with such a clear-cut, methodology and a clear victory for gun owners in the United States, and what a bad thing it was. Again, just absolutely shameful, and yet his son has no problem using a decision he apparently believes is wrong to try and get his own tail out of a crack. It's astonishing. It is. Just again, the hypocrisy knows no bounds. And I doubt anybody's going to get a quote from the president on this one. But it is a typical hypocrisy of the left and the elites and the anti-gun crowd. That this is well, it works for us. We're do as we say, not as we do. Do as we. Okay. All right. We'll just do that. All right. Anyway, we've got more coming up. I want to let you know that we're going to go ahead and throw the phone lines open this morning. If you would like to sound off and be part of it, you can do so right now. We're going to go ahead and open those lines up for discussion. Any firearms topic is fair game this morning. 907-433-3150. We also want to say a special thanks to our friends at Satellite West, who are down here they're everywhere in the state. And I'm down here on the peninsula, and they could be here. I could make phone calls, send text messages, send emails from anywhere, whether it's Seldovia to Selawik, whether it's Sitka to Selden. I mean, wherever you want to go, they have got the tools and the talent to make it happen. You can go to satellitewest.com and check out all the details and their local dealers. Down here, it's on the Spit. It's Radar Alaska, just a few miles here from where I'm sitting. Radar Alaska in the Spit is their local dealer here down in Kodiak, and you'll find one in your own local area as well. Safe and Sound in Anchorage and Soldotna, and more. So go check it out. Okay, we're up against the break, so let's do what we got to do. We'll go take a break, and we'll see what has to happen here in just a few minutes. Maybe we'll take some phone calls. I got some other stories to discuss, including, you heard about this shooting of the mugger in New York, right? Well, now it turns out that they're going to prosecute the 65-year-old man who was attacked by a 32-year-old mentally ill person with a pen. But the interesting thing about this is the family of the mugger is saying they're not blaming the man defending himself. They're blaming the state of New York. We'll talk about that and more. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Hi. How are you? I just realized I forgot to hook something up that I needed for the commercial breaks. It was late last night when I finally was able to crawl into bed. So it's one of those things. So let me go fix this here real quick. Okay. Just you go talk amongst yourselves for just a moment. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Let me hook this up and we'll be back. Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, see, I literally had to hook up the box and I forgot to do it. Oh, it was such a long day yesterday. Such a long day wearing so many hats. Yesterday it was amazing. All right. Let's see what you guys have been talking about here this morning. No live stream. Oh, I'm sorry, Daniel. I did not start the live stream this morning. Again, not nearly enough coffee to get all that going on. Let me see. I've only got 53 windows open on the computer right now. So let me see if I can open 54 here to get the reorganize my desktop. I'm doing everything on one screen. Normally I have 4 screens. This morning I have 1 screen, and it's always a little more difficult when I'm doing it remotely because there's never enough real estate to see everything at once, on the screen, what you need to do. Let me see here. Oh, burp, burp. There we go. Got it. Okay, thank you, Daniel. I should have, there it is right there. Okay, and connected. Live stream's up. So it was that easy. Literally forgot to click on a couple of the most important things of what's going on. You just packed up your studio, moved it with you, says Hawk. Well, it's a little more difficult than that. I mean, again, when I'm doing things in the studio, I have 2 different PCs, plus, like I said, a bunch of other stuff and hardware and equipment and monitors. And I'm doing all this on a laptop with a mixer and a little bit of a lesser camera and some other things. Are we really talking about firearms today, says Brian? I don't know why we wouldn't be. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Joe Biden, he's innocent until proven guilty. Brian says, hypocrisy from the political class? Oh, that's standard fare. That's standard fare. Hold on a second here, folks. Hello? Okay. Hey, how you doing? Let's get this thing going on. Here we go. Okay. You try and get it all working. And, just doesn't always work out for you. Welcome back to the program. It is the Michael Duke Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. You guys all ready? You all ready to do it? Let's continue ahead, shall we? We will continue ahead here with discussions and commentary and more for Firearms Friday, with the phone lines being open at 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. So, talking about Hunter Biden and the hypocrisy of that whole deal. It's just astonishing. A couple other things that have been obviously headlined up in the news and have been making big headlines. Of course, the ghost gun thing, and Polymer 80, which was in a legal battle with the city of Los Angeles. For those of you who don't know, Polymer 80 sells a 80% polymer AR-15 80% receiver kit, the so-called ghost guns, right? And we've heard the politicians talk about this the whole time. Politicians are talking about, how it's a crazy, such a threat, and we're all going to die from the ghost guns in the cities and everything else. But of course, the numbers don't seem to be proving that out. And, if you look back over the course of what was the number here? It was amazing. When Illinois was set to pass its own ghost gun ban here just a little bit ago, we learned just how few people have actually been killed with such weapons. Now, in this was a year ago, but in the 6 years up until that point, there had been a total in 6 years, a total of 325 homicides nationwide that were carried out with the so-called ghost guns. Now, they've been talking about ghost guns so much, I'm sure that many, many more people have gotten involved and are probably building kits, and probably they educated criminals on probably how to do all that as well. The media keeps talking about it, and though it's like marketing for criminals, figuring out an opportunity to go out and do things. But Los Angeles has a ban on such kits, these ghost gun kits and parts. And as such, they sued Polymer 80, which supplies such kits, for violating the city law. Now, they have settled the lawsuit, according to My News LA. They have settled the lawsuit. Los Angeles City Attorney Heidi Feldstein Soto announced a $5 million settlement on Tuesday in a lawsuit against Nevada-based Polymer 80, permanently prohibiting the company from selling its ghost gun kits in the state without first conducting background checks on buyers and serializing its product. As part of the settlement, the company is going to have to pay $4 million in civil penalties, and then the two founders have got to pay an additional $1 million in penalties. According to the press release, which I'm sure they held on the town, I've heard they held on the steps of City Hall with people looking on and cheering. This settlement holds Polymer 80s and its founders accountable, keeps guns out of the hands of prohibited people, makes LA neighborhoods safer, and will help law enforcement do their jobs. More than 16,000 people have been killed by gun violence so far in 2023. This is an important step towards preventing unnecessary deaths, especially as Congress repeatedly fails to take action. How many of those 16,000 people were killed with ghost guns? I mean, that really should be if you were a reporter that was worth their salt, worth their metal in any way, shape, or form, that would be the first question that you'd ask. How many of those people were actually killed? Of the 16,000 people, how many were killed with ghost guns? Good luck getting them to actually answer that question, though. Right? I mean, that would be because if only 325 people nationwide were killed in a 6-year period, so what is that? 50 people a year, 58 people, 54 people a year. So if 16,000 people were killed, how at this point, halfway into the year, so how many people was that? I just love how they use these hyperbolic numbers to discuss. And again, this goes back to an old maxim that we haven't talked about on the program in quite a while, but the old maxim of this program is that gun grabbers always lie. Now, sometimes it's a lie of omission. Sometimes it's a lie of inclusion, where they're including, like, for example, suicide numbers in the rate of gun fatality rates and things like that. Sometimes it's a lie of where they are basically substituting one thing for another, right? What do they call it? I'm having a senior moment here. Basically, they're saying 16,000, and then by basically they're implicitly saying, oh, well, the 16,000, those were all killed with ghost guns, right? I mean, even though we know that number is, it's a 0.5% of 0.5% of 0.5% at that point. So, ghost guns are not a real threat, but keep pumping the pump on that, and I guess they could be. I guess criminals will figure out that, well, if this is the thing that we're supposed to be doing, then I guess this is what we should be doing. Ghost guns are be a huge thing. Now, I feel bad for Polymer 80 on this deal. There's probably a reason Polymer 80 settled this lawsuit because, for those of you who don't know, they've got a lot going on because they're also battling the federal government over their ghost gun crackdown, the ATF's redefinition of specific parts as firearms, which, I mean, based on what's happening, we're going to get into this here in just a bit with the arm brace ban and the bump stock ban and some of these other things. I think Polymer 80 may see a little sunshine on the horizon on this, but they've got a lot of different, they're getting attacked from pretty much every angle at this point. From every direction. They're facing battles from every direction. And so they've got a lot going on. And it was probably cheaper in the long run for them to just, make this agreement and then, then to try and continue to fight it. Because let's face it, the city of Los Angeles, they would have gone to the mats on this one. They would have gone to the mats on this one like no other. Anyway, the city of Los Angeles is just deluding itself for them to say, we're so much safer. They're no safer now than they were before. Ghost guns are not the problem. Ghost guns are not, and quite honestly, even just guns themselves are not the problem. The problem are criminals because they break the law by their very definition. If you've got this soft on crime approach, which many of the large cities are taking on more and more, if you've got a soft on crime approach and you're not blaming the people who are actually doing the crime, you're blaming circumstances, or you're blaming the firearm, or you're blaming something else, then this is what's going to happen. Criminals are the problem. If they don't get guns from stealing them, if they don't get guns from buying them on the black market, if they don't, maybe they'll get it, and maybe this will prevent 1 or 2 guns from falling into the hands of criminals, but they'll just go get them somewhere else. It's not that difficult. I'm always reminded about the John Stossel interview, where he interviewed criminals in prison. He had a group of them in a room, and he was asking questions. And one of the questions that he asked this group of career criminals who were in prison, this is a very candid interview. He asked them, how long before, if you got released today, how long could it be before you had a gun? And less than 90 minutes. That was the answer. Less than 90 minutes. They could have a gun on the street, be ready to go in less than 90 minutes. So taking away, first of all, Do you understand it? This is not. I love how Joe Biden portrays this as if, you could sit down at your kitchen table with some duct tape and a butter knife and a can of super glue, and you could create a gun in 5 minutes. If you have ever done any kind of gunsmithing or anything like that, or any kind of home hobbyist stuff, this is not an easy thing because it has to be precise. It has to have some precision, right? It requires tools, and usually I've seen people do some of this stuff with hand tools, but I mean, it's got to be, again, this is not an easy thing. And when they say readily convertible in a half hour to a firearm, I'm like, ooh, you guys got access to a full machine shop and, machinists who know what they're doing, because maybe, but the average home hobbyist, it's not going to be like a 30-minute deal. Criminals are lazy. I mean, that's why they do what they do, right? They don't want to work. They want to steal it from you. So they are lazy. They're not going to sit down and try and figure out how to build guns. They're going to steal them from somebody else. This is not going to be the arms du jour for most criminals, unless they're creating a criminal enterprise where they want to crank them out. But at that point, why go with kits? If you've got access to a full machine shop, remember what happened in Australia, right? Australia, that's always being thrown up in the gun culture space. Well, we should be more like Australia. Regardless of the fact that the murder rate in Australia climbed significantly after their gun buyback, and that violent crime in general was also a larger problem as they went through. The one thing that they seem to forget is that once those things are outlawed, in for a penny, in for a pound, then only the outlaws are going to care about it, and they'll go whole hog. If you don't remember the story from about 10 years ago of a huge crime wave sweeping the country of Australia, and the police going in and doing raids, and like in Sydney, they found whole gangs, right? Criminal gangs had taken over machine shops, and they were creating they were not name brand manufactured. They were making machine guns in the machine shops and passing them out to their selling them to their criminal contacts, using them themselves and selling full auto machine guns, because in for a penny, in for a pound, and it doesn't have to be just a polymer deal. Criminals are going to break the law. How many? I don't know how many ways to say that. That is what they're going to do. But anyway, this is, Polymer 80 is taking it on the chin a little bit here, but hopefully, with all the other decisions that we're seeing in this post-Brune world, including the pushback on the bump stock ban, and now an injunction that is coming up on the arm brace, I think this is actually some good news on the horizon for companies like Polymer 80, who produce these 80% kits, to maybe not be, in such the targeted limelight at this point. So, all right, we're coming up on the break. Now we're going to see this time if we actually, some of you didn't go to break. Some of you hung around with us. You got to see behind the scenes. That's amazing. Feel good about that. You got to see behind the scenes. We're going to continue here in just a moment. I'm going to push the button a lot harder this time. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Willie Waffle's coming up at the end of the next hour. Don't forget about that. We'll be back with more. Enjoy a little bit of that. And your phone calls if you want to sound off. 907-433-3150. We continue. Your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking gun radio. Up next on The Michael Dukes Show.
Your mental suppository. The Michael Dukes Show.
Okay. I think we actually went to break that time. I pushed the button a lot harder. I don't know. Okay. Oh, I forgot to turn on the timer. Okay. Hey, Hey. No, right there. Timer. Time it. Okay. Let me check in. Let me check in with the boss here to see. Did it go this time? Oh, there we go. We'll see what that says. Okay. Because one trigger I pushed remotely, one I didn't. I don't know. There's not enough coffee in the world for me this morning. Yep. All right. Worked this time. Everything worked. It's radio. Nobody's going to die, but we still would like to be professional. And I still only have one screen, so I'm desperately trying to get back to the chat here to see what's going on. Okay. Why can't I? Okay, there we go. How about the Fifth Circuit injunctions? Jeannie, we're going to talk about that here. South Central Radar. What did I say? Radar Alaska? South Central Radar. Okay, there we go. How many suitcases do you haul in that Cooper? It's a backpack. It's a big soft-sided range bag briefcase, and it's a hard case. It's two hard cases, two smaller hard cases. It's actually pretty compact. It's amazing what you can do these days with technology. It is amazing. Literally, the entire show is my laptop bag and a single hard case. I mean, it's like a small suitcase size hard case and then another smaller box. You should, MD, you should be sipping some Bear Creek wine this morning. What are you talking about? I mean, that's breakfast. That's juice. That's just juice. Little breakfast juice. Little strawberry watermelon breakfast juice. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? Come on, man. Don't fail me now. Give me the full screen. There we go. Okay. Sorry, normally I have all this stuff up in front of me at once and I don't have to cycle through all the screens. The rhubarb is pretty tasty. Rhubarb wine. Oh, yeah, it's good. Absolutely good. Bear Creek makes some amazing stuff. Ask yourself, how many firearms used in homicides are actually recovered? That's a good question. I mean, it would be interesting to know the actual statistics. I can't imagine that it's a hugely high number, but I imagine that they want to make it sound like they recovered them all. But I mean, I can't imagine that it's a hugely high number as far as that goes. I would say the influx of foreign criminals is going to increase the crime rate. No. Yeah, ask Chris Howard about guns in Australia. Yeah, exactly. Bombs are easier to make than guns, says Hawk. I mean, I guess but they're a little bit more indiscriminate at that point. Criminals, by definition, break the laws. Yes, that's what we've been doing here. Any guests today? No, it's just me. We're still scrolling through the whole thing. We had to get and half that firearms and lingerie for the better half. Okay. No fish in Seward right now. Yeah, this whole weather thing right now is so crazy. 41 degrees in my house on Wednesday. It was a little warmer yesterday, but only by a couple degrees. And I get down to Homer, and this is like April weather on June 1st. It's like April weather. So, all right, I'm all caught up on all the discussion, and we are 1 minute out from being able to. Good golly, Miss Molly. I got to get me one of those little traveling screens. I've used these for the radio station for some of the remote setups that we have for the radio station, where you put another screen on the back of your laptop screen and it slides out off to the side. So then you have two screens. If I had two screens, it would make it that much easier. This one screen thing is about to drive me to drink. All right, we're coming up on it. We're 20 seconds out. Please like and share the show. Like and follow the show page. Subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things, do all the stuff and things. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. That's 30 seconds right there. So we're 30 seconds out right now from rejoining. And don't forget to check out the Common Sense Corps. All right. Ready to continue here our discussions of a Second Amendment nature right here on the Michael Duke Show. And the phone calls or phone lines are open if you would like to sound off and join us this morning. We'd love to hear what you have to say for any kind of firearm discussion and more. Feel free to pull up a chair and hang out with us around the old, I always kind of picture it as being, you're at the old corner store with a pot-bellied stove and the grumpy old men sitting around the stove or sitting out on the front porch, sipping coffee and smoking cigars or whatever, and just pontificating on all the problems of the world. That's kind of how I picture when I do. Man, I crack myself up when I do Q&A on the show. Sometimes that's kind of how I picture it. We're just here trying to solve the problems of the world. Oh, all these young whippersnappers, we've got all the answers, but we love to talk about it. That's how I feel while we're out there talking about it. But the number to call, by the way, 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. We'd love to hear what you have to say about that and more. So we were just talking about the Polymer 80 court case and how they're in a big battle about the so-called ghost guns, and how kits and parts are now being reclassified willy-nilly by the ATF. And we may have some good news. First and foremost, in an unlikely an area that you may not have expected, kind of an unlikely turn of events. There was a case in front of the Supreme Court that had nothing to do with guns, and it was Sackett versus the EPA. And for those of you who have been following this for years, the Sackett family had been fighting the EPA over a wetlands issue. And interestingly enough, the judge, and there's been several Second Amendment YouTubers and legal scholars that have touched on this briefly, but the Sackett decision, which basically found in favor of the Sackett family and saying that the EPA was overreaching their mandate that Congress had laid down, and that they were basically making laws unto themselves, which we've been talking about this on the program for years, that all these bureaucracies and agencies, that Congress has basically abrogated their responsibilities in so many ways because it's hard to make laws that are fair, and instead had just been delegating through benign neglect, the actual rulemaking components of laws to these bureaucracies and these agencies. And now we've seen, this is the third or fourth case in just the last year where the courts have decided that no federal agency, in this case the EPA, you do not have the right to regulate all these waters and wetlands under the Clean Water Act from Congress. It does not transfer you the right on this. This is a case that's been going on for like a dozen years. And many of the, people who are smarter than me as far as legal opinions and stuff goes, says this actually does have ramifications back on Second Amendment issues, because it falls back on what has just happened recently with the bump stock decision and some of the decisions that we're seeing out of the various courts on the pistol brace decision, where the judges have basically said, ATF, you do not have the authority to reclassify specific things that are named in law as firearms, and now you're adding to that list through bureaucratic fiat. If the law written by Congress says a firearm is X, you can't say, oh, and by the way, Y, Z, and A and B and all these other things, they're also firearms. No, because that's just not within your scope of authority. And we're seeing more and more of those things happen across the country, and it's been enlightening. Like I said, I don't care about bump stocks. I think that they're novelty toys more than tools. But I do care about pistol braces, because I think that that's an important tool for people who, especially those who, wounded veterans and others, and, people who need a little bit of help if they're going to use a rifle caliber pistol. And so that ruling has been argued and been and had been litigated in many different courts. And most recently, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals came back with a decision that said, okay, because the ATF's new pistol brace rule went into effect yesterday, June 1st. You had until the 31st of May to register your brace wielding firearm as a short barrel rifle for free, but you still had to register it, or you had to remove it and make it basically non-functional, the brace itself. Although, again, Dettelbach said under testimony in Congress, that, oh, you could just take it and put it in, just as long as they're separate. Again, we had that whole discussion last week. But the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals basically came out and said, no, that's not how it works. Now, we discussed this briefly last week, that in these two cases, there was two different cases that came about on this. Both of them basically had very limited injunctions. It wasn't a broad injunction against the law being implemented, but it's actually larger than was initially thought. The ATF's new rules requiring owners of pistol stabilizing braces to either register their brace-equipped pistols or destroy permanently disable is now in effect. But hundreds of thousands of gun owners across the country are exempt from the edict, at least for now, thanks to lawsuits brought by the Firearms Policy Coalition and the Second Amendment Foundation. Last week, a panel on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals granted an emergency injunction against the new rule as it applies to the named plaintiffs in the case. That's Mock v. Garland. And while there is some initial confusion about the scope of that ruling, the judge later clarified that the injunction not only covers Maxim Defense and the Firearms Policy Coalition as an entity, but all Firearms Policy Coalition members as well. And then on Wednesday, just hours before the rule took effect, a second judge issued a similar ruling in a case called SAF versus ATF, clarifying that her own recent injunction applies to all members of the Second Amendment Foundation as well. So I got some questions for you. Let me just say, I got some questions. So, are you breaking out your checkbook this morning, and are you sending a membership fee to both the Second Amendment Foundation and the Firearm Policy Coalition? Because that would essentially exempt you from this law as they continue to litigate it. I mean, this is not just good news. This is great news, and it's not just good news for the FPC and SAF members, but including the membership of those organizations in the determinations by the judges. They are acknowledging, the justices or the judges are acknowledging that there is real harm that's going to come to law-abiding gun owners if this ATF rule is enforced against them. Now, remember, again, this is kind of, this rulemaking and a lot of this other stuff is very obscure to most people who are not really plugged into the gun culture. Right? I mean, you saw, if you watched any bit of the testimony of Dettelbach in front of Congress, it was very obvious that even he was was misleading or putting out false information, maybe knowingly, maybe not knowing. The average gun owner who's bought a pistol brace because it's cool and gee whiz, or maybe because they actually need it for something, may have no idea that this law has got into effect because they're not die-hard gun culture people following the ins and outs and vagaries of the law. And so you are simply creating a situation where many of these people are going to become criminals inadvertently, and you are creating what could be a catastrophic event for many people. But this is great news, though, because it's understanding that real harm could come to law-abiding gun owners if the ATF rule is enforced. Now, it may have been better for the Fifth Circuit panel or Judge Boyle, to simply grant the injunction against any enforcement, but that's not how. Usually it's piecemeal. The wheels of justice turn slowly. And unfortunately, we're usually on the slow end of that stick, and it takes us longer to get stuff done. But I'm seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Again, between the bump stock ban being ruled as an overreach, and some of these other justices saying that the ghost gun stuff is potentially the same, and then brewing on top of it. Oh, man. We could be looking at some really, really good stuff moving forward. I'm kind of excited about seeing where this goes in the next few years in a post-Bruin world. So I'd love to hear what you have to say this morning. You guys have been awfully quiet. Reach out, talk with us. We got more coming up. Hour 2 dead ahead. Willie Waffle will be joining us to talk about the weekend movies and entertainment review. I'm broadcasting live from the Cowboy Suite at Bear Creek Winery and Lodging in beautiful Down Homer on the peninsula. Come join us, say hi at the Bear Creek Music Festival tomorrow, benefiting the Kids Scholarship Fund. We'll be back with more in hour 2 right after this. Okay. Go back over here. I forget how many windows I have up at one point. She said, Debbie said, I noticed a meme. I did not write this. The picture was of a rock and a pistol. And it had a quote that said, when Cain killed Abel with a rock, God did not confiscate all the rocks. God blamed Cain, not the rock. I mean, this is something that, I mean, that's a boiling down of what we've been talking about for all that, all the whole time, is that we should be blaming the criminal and not the tool. You know, I mean, a gun is, I mean, right, it's not good nor evil. It's agnostic. It's, you know, right in the middle. It's just simply a tool. It can be used for it in any way, for good or for evil. That's 100% right. And you're right, Jeannie. I'm sorry, I forgot the Tipton injunction as well. That includes GOA members. So I hope, I mean, I'm a lifetime member of the GOA. I hope many of you are already throwing money at the SAF, the FPC, and the GOA. Didn't they offer up a room in exchange for that? No, they had the room to begin with. I had the room to begin with. It had nothing to do with that. Let me see. I'm scrolling backwards here to see. Jeannie Longo, don't know if it was functioning. They recovered a ghost gun in the Value Village parking lot in Anchorage, so they apparently exist, said Brian. That was boy, give me the source on that. I want to know. I want to know what's going on. Then Jeannie asked the question, She says that begs the question: if it was discarded, did it actually work? Which, I mean, I think is a valid question, because again, this is not something that, I mean, they make it sound like you can go under, with some duct tape and some nail polish and and a couple toothpicks and a tongue depressor. You can make this firearm in 10 minutes on your kitchen table. Yeah, maybe if you want. I mean, I could create a gun out of hardware parts that would work once, right? But I mean, you're talking about creating a firearm that is consistently working. Brian then went on to say he didn't know if it was functioning. Fed did a buy, got 3 long guns. The ghost gun was also an SBR, so they also got clapped out AK-47 and sketchy looking AK-74. Brian, send me the link on that. I'm interested to find out more about that. Okay. Scrolling down here, where are we at? All right. Thanks for the reminder. Going down. Did you get breakfast in bed in the Cowboy Suite? No, I did not get breakfast in bed, but I do have a certificate to go have breakfast down at a local restaurant because I stayed here. And I got a beautiful bottle of wine, which I did not drink for breakfast. Still here, still working. Harold is still stuck on the whole cooking and baking segment. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. The only thing that I miss while I'm here is my freaking chair. My office chair. I need an office chair in here, because this kitchen chair is I could sit here and have breakfast, but now we're going on to 2 hours, and my backside is going to sleep. My backside is going to sleep. So I'm gonna find a pillow or something, swap something around. Be right back. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more right after this. Let's do it. Here we go. Oh, okay. Okay, that's a little bit better. A little bit better. I got a couch pillow on the chair now. I mean, I know it's probably more than you wanted to know, but that it's better. I'm a little bit higher too. I need to back this up just a bit. Okay, we're ready to go. Woo! Hour 2 dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Feel free to give us a call if you'd like to sound off. Otherwise, we've got some other stories we're going to be hanging out with. And then Willie Waffle at the end of the hour. Let's get back to it. Hour 2 starts right now.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fun, and this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live from the Cosmic Hamlet by the Sea. Broadcasting, in fact, from the Cowboy Suite out there at Bear Creek Winery and Lodging in beautiful Homer down on East End, where tomorrow they're going to have the big Bear Creek Music Festival. Now, this is a festival that benefits the Scholastic Scholarship Fund for the kids here in the Homer area. It's a great fundraising event, lots of great music, Blackwater Railroad, and just all kinds of stuff. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to be emceeing that starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. So if you're down in the Homer area, come on down, get yourself some tickets and help support a great cause. It'll be fun stuff. And I'm just enjoying a beautiful picture. I can see the edges of the mountains up over the trees there, the beautiful Ketchimack Bay. It's beautiful. Absolutely. Botanical gardens right outside my door. But it's Friday, and that means we got a chance to talk about issues related to the Second Amendment and more. We've been talking about some of the news stories this morning, including about some of the different injunctions. And quite honestly, I forgot to mention there was another case that that came out, which was the Brinton case that was being prosecuted by GOA. They were the Tipton, not Brinton. It was Tipton case. That was another case that the Gun Owners of America had filed, and they also got an injunction. So, I mean, there are wins happening, folks, all across the country, pushing back against the overreach by bureaucracies and ATF. And as I pointed out earlier, the EPA got their hand slapped for doing the same thing. And you're seeing more and more governmental agencies where their overreach, their bureaucratic overreach, because Congress has failed to do its job, is the justices and the judges are starting to acknowledge that these bureaucracies do not have the legal right by fiat to make this stuff happen. They're basically scolding Congress for not doing their jobs. Shocker there, but that's what's happening right now. Phone lines are open today. It's gun Q&A all day. There's no such thing as a dumb gun question. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And we got one call on hold, so let's go over there and talk to our first caller for the day to see what they have to say. And we'll start right here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Brian calling you from the Hook.
Hello. Good morning, Brian. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm just sitting here wondering what I did wrong to deserve this kind of weather. I feel like maybe human sacrifice is going to be in order or something. It's going to need to,
I don't know. I think...
This, you know?
Yeah, I think you may have to ask some questions as to what did you do, sir? What did you do to bring this down on all of us? I'd like you to figure it out because, man.
It didn't mean to kick the cat, but it walked in front of me.
I know, really.
I'm laughing because your voice coming through on my phone sounds so much different than it does in the radio or in person.
Oh.
I almost would recognize you.
Oh, sorry about
that.
So
anyway. No, I know it's you, man. I just know it's you, and that's enough. I was reading, I'm scrolling through trying to find where I picked up this little bit, but I think it's over at Gun Curious. There's a couple links in there. He writes a pretty excellent piece on firearms training, which I would encourage people to go over and read. But one of the observations, and I don't know if it's from him or from one of the links that he puts in his piece, the number of guns that are stolen from vehicles is, rising epidemically. No, that's not quite the right word, but it's rising precipitously, largely because of gun-free zones.
Right.
And I know that you've mentioned in the times when you hit the post office or someplace that's posted as a non-concealed carry space, a gun-free space.
Right.
You have to do something with that gun. And I have lock boxes in my truck. I've got lock boxes in my car. But my God, they're hard to. I mean, they're not hard to get to. It's a big inconvenience sometimes. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
And so you're just tempted. You're just tempted to slide it under the seat, or take your chances and ignore the sign, or having to lock it in the trunk. Not that I have trunks in one of my cars, but you know what I mean. You got to find a place to put it. That said, I would encourage people who do carry and are out and about, and you got to hit the post office. So there you go. You got to drop your weapon somewhere. So I would encourage people to buy quality lock boxes and practice clever, discreet unholstering and locking.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
concerning, but.
Yeah, no, I think that's a valid thing, Brian. I mean, I've often said that the gun-free zones do a lot of things. I mean, first of all, not only do they create a target-rich environment for somebody who wishes to do harm, but for the average criminal, they also create a veritable marketplace. I mean, if I was a criminal and I wanted a gun, I'd sit outside of a bank or some other place that's marked as a gun-free zone, and I would just people watch until I could actually watch people disarm themselves and put it under the floor or in the glove box or in the trunk or whatever. And then you'd have the perfect opportunity to go pop some doors and break some windows and get yourself a firearm very quickly. I mean, and you make a valid point to practice stealthily disarming yourself. Right. And there's lots of issues with that. I mean, Brian, every time, especially if you're in a seated position in a vehicle, holstering or unholstering your pistol, there's always a danger of, because you can't see everything, you're not standing upright, you're clear, you stuck the belt buckle or whatever, the seat belt buckle. There's always a higher rate chance of negligent or accidental discharge in those kind of situations. So it really just kind of compounds all that. You need that. I mean, you're pointing out that it makes a good practice. And are your lock boxes mounted to the floor or where? I mean, are they secured themselves, or are they just a box that's free floating in the vehicle?
Well, they're cabled to structural member, usually the seat post or the seat slide of the.
Yeah,
and it works good in my truck because it sits on the transom, slide it out, slide it back, and it stays mostly out of view. The Mazda, not quite so much.
Right, right.
It's pretty awkward in there, and now that I'm getting a little bit older, I'm not quite as flexible as I once was. So having to lay across and at that point you're insanely vulnerable anyway, because you're no longer paying attention to your surroundings. So
right. No, it's it is a challenge. I agree with you, my friend. Yeah. It's a huge challenge. And if some car manufacturer really wanted to help out, they could offer an option, for the gun friendly buyer out there to have a, like a locking gun safe underneath it, especially in the trucks where they've got the big deep consoles, where you could just have there's a recessed thing in the very bottom and you could put your gun in there. I mean, that would really, and they actually make replacement. I've seen some of those for the bigger trucks where it looks like a console and you just replace your current one with it and it's got a lockbox at the bottom. That's the best thing. But yeah, it's like my Mini Cooper. There's not a lot of places you could put it in a Mini Cooper. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of space in there to do that kind of stuff.
Nope, not at all. So anyway, that's just kind of my admonition. It's unfortunate that we're to that place as a society where we have to lock and hide and do all this crap. But as a gun owner, you also have a certain responsibility to secure your weapons.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. That is one of the prime responsibilities as a gun owner, is to make sure that you know where that firearm is, even if it's not on your person, to know it's secure. so that other bad people can't get it. I think that, as you said, that's a prime example of what we need to do. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Well, Brian, thanks for bringing that up.
All right, let's do it. Let's do a happy.
Let's do a what?
Let's do a Sundance all together, shall we? A Sundance.
Oh, a Sundance? Yes, yeah.
Fun.
I'm going to go outside as soon as this is done and beg the maker to please bring some sunshine. We just need. Why hast thou forsaken me, dear Lord? Please bring me some sunshine. Please. I'm with you on that. Thanks, Brian.
Now.
I appreciate
All
it.
right, man. Thanks.
For coming on board. All right. So you can give us a call right now if you'd like to sound off. 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. Brian brings up an interesting point because, a lot of times people think, well, I'm just going to go forth armed. I'm just going to conceal carry. I mean, it's easy in this state because there's no requirement to have a permit. As long as you can legally own the firearm, you can carry concealed. But people don't think about the ramifications of things like, that, for example, you have to go into a gun-free zone. You have to go into the post office, or you have to go into the courthouse or something like that. And they don't really give much consideration to, how are you going to abide by those rules while still keeping safe yourself and maintaining the safety of your firearm. And so you really have to kind of think through this stuff. You kind of really have to think about the ramifications of it and the technical aspects, the mechanical aspects of it. How do you do these things? And Brian makes a valid point. You should be, because again, if you're a criminal and you're sitting off to the side and you're watching people as they pull up and park, and you see the guy, lean forward, reach behind him, pull his arm up, looks like he pulls something out. You may not be able to see it, but then he goes down underneath the seat. Pretty good guess, that he's got a firearm that he's doing something with. And so, what is your plan with that? You got a plan for everything else? Maybe. Have you thought about a plan for that? Which again is why I think this whole idea of a gun-free zone, and especially in the states like New York and California, these other things where they're basically designated all these places as safe spaces, is insane. Once again, as you continue to draw your firearm over and over to draw and conceal it all the time, there's always a chance of, it raises and increases the chance of a negligent discharge if you're not familiar enough with a firearm. And that's why all this practice is important in the privacy of your own home, doing dry fire exercises, holstering and presenting your firearm, targeting, acquiring front sight, doing all those things in the dry fire exercises. That's why that stuff is so important, to develop that muscle memory, and then to practice things like in your car, in dry fire mode, meaning empty pistol, the whole thing, to practice disarming yourself. So in case you need to go into one of those places, or for the most part, just avoid them. Go through the drive-through at the bank. That's what I do. I haven't been inside of a bank in a long time because I'm not going to disarm myself to walk in there. I don't like that idea. All right. We got one more call on hold. Let's see who's there before we get going on towards the break here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Well, good morning. This is Rattles up in Pleasant Valley.
Hey, Rattles.
The
What's
place
up?
where we still wave with all 5 fingers.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on there? Most of the time, yeah.
Heck, now look, you were talking about Obama. I mean, Biden's son there having an illegal firearm. But look back a few years before that. Look what that Eric Holder and that Obama did. Their guns, that Fast and Furious.
Right, the gun walker.
I don't know how many guns they took that. But are they arms dealers or what? Huh?
I mean, how many times has the federal government armed the wrong group of people and then blamed lawful, law-abiding gun owners? Yeah.
Yeah. And how many of them guns killed people?
Well, we know they killed it. Yeah, we know they killed at least one Border Patrol, Brian Terry, which was the name of the Border Patrol agent that was killed with one of the guns from the Fast and Furious scandal. We know he killed at least one person, probably many, many more.
The criminals are your government.
Well, Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to ask that question. That is 100% for sure. All right, well, thank you, Rattles. I appreciate you calling in. Folks, we got more coming up. We're going to continue here in just a moment. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. One more segment of gun stuff before we jump into it with Willie Waffle. We'll be back with more here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. With more Firearms Friday.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes on Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. All right. We got one line on hold. We're going to go talk to them right now to get their name so we know who to talk to when we get back. Let's go over there. Here we go. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Mike. It's a Fred, but I don't know how you.
Oh, good, Fred. Good. Hold the line, my friend. I'll be right back to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Fred is over in Rhode Island, and we're going to be talking with him here in just a second. Meanwhile, let me pull the window back up with all the chats and everything else. Okay. Scrolling through. Oh. Thank you, Brian, for the link to the story about the firearm in possession. Going through. You drove to Homer? Yeah. Yeah, I drove to Homer. What's in Homer besides weird political people? Natural beauty, great community, the ocean. I mean, what do you want, man? I mean, I drove, yes. I mean, don't you like to drive? Do we need an event sharing all our homemade items of bullet propelling capabilities? Okay. Just scrolling through all. You guys have been talking here a lot here lately. They have fresh snow on the mountains in Eagle River. There's something so wrong with it. But it's global warming. I know. The North Pole coffee tasted so good first thing this morning, said Chris. Sackett creates limits on the agency being able to expand their authority and make the violation criminal too. Yeah, no, I mean, and I think again, that's going to be that's kind of setting the tone and the precedent for all of these various agencies. They're going to be having all that problem as we go through. Can we stop talking about hiding guns? Is that even a topic? Yes, it is, obviously. Why do you even come on Firearms Friday if all you want to do is bitch and gripe about everything that we talk about? Go eat some bacon. Go drink some more Folgers. Yes, it's an important topic because we're trying to obey the law. And should we just not talk about hiding guns? Should we just throw it in the passenger seat while we go into the bank or go into the courthouse or go into some place where we're trying to be legal and lawful and law-abiding? Or should we talk about being smart about it? I mean, that's it. That's all I'm saying. My trick is to actually never disarm. There's a lot of verified and empirical data that tells me that a gun-free zone is one of statistically most likely places I would be shot at. Better to be faced by a jury than by a judge and jury than get dumped in a pine box. I mean, that's basically been my mantra for a long time. Unless I have to walk through a metal detector, you pretty much figure that I'm armed pretty much anywhere I go. That's just how it works. Jeannie says she can't find a reasonable place in any of her vehicles to stow a revolver that allows easy access and responsive access. A visible gun box in a vehicle is an invitation. to a willing thief, my advice is keep it on you. Then if you have to go in an area where you can't keep it secured in a place where it has to be sought, and lock it up. I mean, yeah, you're not going to find something like, I see those things on Facebook all the time. Guy's got a gun lock on his dashboard where he just parks his gun and it just sits there at easy access. And yeah, right. I'm just going to take a crowbar, break your window, and then peel that thing off the dashboard. I mean, none of that stuff makes sense. 100% on that. But you're right. It's, you should just carry it on you. That's what you should be doing here. All right, here we go. We're coming up on it here. Right now, the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like and share, like and follow, do the show page, do it all. Let's get it going on. 20 seconds out right now. Too many windows. Here we go. Bomb. Okay, welcome back to the program. Finishing things up here for Firearms Friday. We got this one final segment on gun discussions, and then we got Willie Waffle coming up for our weekend movie reviews. Meanwhile, let's go back to the phones with some phone calls. Our friend Fred listens in every Friday over the internet, all the way from Rhode Island. So Fred in Rhode Island joins us this morning. Let's see what is on his mind and what he has to say today. Good morning, Fred. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, Mike. There's the old saying, especially the from the criminal standpoint, the mantra there. For every problem there's an opportunity. Right? If you turn that around,
sure.
From a law enforcement point, that'd be a perfect opportunity for law enforcement to do something about the gun-free zones and the people locking their firearms up in the vehicles, to comply with the law. It's a sting operation. I mean, that'd be so simple, easy for them to do. They know that this goes on from time to time, unannounced in different locations. You send a team out, and you put a bait car out there with an individual who pulls in from time to time and tries to, his firearm and goes into the building, and then have, on my cars out there waiting, who approaches that vehicle and then nab them. That solves many problems. One, it gets the crumb bums off the street to begin with. And if you take the majority of them out of business, well, that solves a lot of the opportunities for them getting firearms in the first place, and that will cut down on the stolen guns getting into criminals' hands.
Right.
Out in the community.
Well, I mean, they'd have to first of all, Fred, they'd have to prosecute the criminals who are actually doing that, and what we're seeing in a lot of cases is there's kind of more of a soft on crime mantra, so that even that petty theft, even if it is of like a firearm and a weapon, seems to be getting a pretty low priority on the prosecution totem pole these days.
Well, I was going to mention that'd be the second thing you have to deal with. You have to deal with the criminal justice system itself. You pump up the laws as to stolen firearms, and those who steal them, definitely increase the penalties on that. With a mandatory sentencing with no plea bargaining available. And basically just increase the overall law itself. You get rid of a lot of this evolving to a judicial system.
Right.
Only people out of the lawyers, especially the defense attorneys. I mean, it's just it's a working cash cow for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's not something that we normally think about when we're talking about firearms and stuff like that, but it's something that you have to think about if you are going to carry concealed, that you will be facing situations like this where you may have to go into some place where you have to disarm. And I mean, what do? Just chuck it on the seat, chuck it under the seat, throw it in the glove box. I mean, all the places that would be easily thought of and seen. It makes it very simple. So you have to plan these things out ahead of time if you're going to do that. If you've decided to carry concealed, and just and make that decision. Better to do it ahead of time than have to try and decide in the moment, where do I put this gun if I have to go into the post office or whatever. it's a real challenge, but it's something that, a lot of times you're not thinking about. And I haven't taken a concealed carry course in probably 20 years, but I don't know if they're even covering that in local concealed carry courses or not. Maybe somebody in the chat room could tell me if they have lately, but it's an important thing. Sometimes it's the things that we don't think about that get us in the long run, Fred.
True. Well, you're absolutely right. It's one of those things that, you're kind of like faced with at the moment, and you have to deal with it. However, like I say, if law enforcement took a more active approach in apprehending the people who are committing these problems to begin with, it would eliminate the problem. If nothing else, it'll put the fear of God into them that every time that they think they're going to try to do that, somebody's looking over their shoulder and just waiting for them to make the move.
Right, just doing the thing. Yeah. Again, it's prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and all your surprises will be happy ones. So plan ahead is what's going on.
Good enough.
All right, Fred.
All right,
anything else for the weekend before I let you go, or?
I think that's about it. I think that's about it for today.
Okay, good. Well, it's good to hear from you, my friend. Thanks for calling in and joining us today. I really appreciate it. Always good to hear your voice from all the way out there in Rhode Island. Good to know we're still reaching out to people across the country. Thank you so much.
That still works. So you have a good week.
All right. 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. If you'd like to sound off, we got time for maybe one more call here before we run out of daylight for this segment. And we'd love to hear what you have to say. Again, any topic is fair game, and any discussion or talking point regarding firearms is good. I'm excited about it. I would love to hear what you have to talk about here. Let's go over to the phone, see if we can get this one in here and see what's happening. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Steve calling from Fairbanks.
Good morning, Steve. What's on your mind?
A couple quick things, not to take a lot of time. One, a friend of mine going to a zoo years ago, he saw the no concealed carry back in Colorado, secured his gun, SIG 220, in his trunk, and then came back out later and his trunk was open and the SIG was gone. So that whole notion of disarming or unholstering subtly, he missed that part. So anyway, that's just a little lesson. The other thing I want to do, this is an announcement. End of July, 2-day event, July 28th, July 29th, is the Alaska Peace Officer Association memorial shoot. On the 28th, Glock will be coming up and we'll be doing a demo. This is all out at the Fox Range. And then on Saturday will be the actual memorial shoot. There's a fee for both. There's a $10 fee for the Glock demo shoot, and there's also registration for both. And there's a $50 fee for the memorial shoot. However, both events are free for APOA members, which is a $25 annual fee. So that's actually the way to go.
Yeah, do the 25 instead of the 60. Yeah.
Exactly. So for more information, just Google APOA, that's Alaska Peace Officer Association. FNC for Farthest North Chapter. That's us.
Okay.
And that's open to all first responders and legally armed citizens. There will be 6 stages, and basically we're using USPSA safety rules and so forth. So it's going to be a great time. Registration is limited.
Sounds like a
45 people.
45 people.
Yeah.
And you said Glock is coming up for a demonstration shoot with their latest and greatest?
Yes, exactly. That's on Friday, July 28th. And all of this is at the Fox Range, which is just outside of Fox, Alaska, just outside of Fairbanks.
Just north of Fairbanks, yeah. Well, this sounds exciting.
Yep.
I mean, if I was up there, I definitely would want to come check that out because just a chance to get my hands on some of the newest stuff from Glock and to take a look and try it out, that would be amazing. And even if you only paid the $10, you'd be well money ahead there for sure. All right, Steve.
So you got to register ahead of time online. And again, if you just go to APOA online.org is the website, and then look for Farthest North Chapter or for training events. It's a lot of fun shooting with law enforcement. They'll be in uniform with duty gear. It's a great time. It really is.
Well, that's cool. I enjoy that. I think that would be amazing. I'll have to look to see if you guys are going to do something down in the Matsu area as well. I appreciate it, Stephen. I'll make sure folks get out there. Only 45 people can participate, so get ahead and go get your stuff done. and get registered right now. Thank you, Steve, for giving us the heads up on that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for the opportunity, Michael. Thank you.
Anytime, my friend. Thank you so much. Yeah, that sounds like a heck of a deal. I would love to, especially I'd love to shoot with the law enforcement officers, but also just the whole thing with Glock coming up there and everything. It's so cool to be able to see and try and test out, even just to feel the latest and greatest from Glock. They're one of my favorite manufacturers. I really enjoy them. So that would be a cool thing to do. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be up in Fairbanks on the 28th. But otherwise, I'd be registering right now. Registering right now to get her done. Get her done. All right. Look at the time. We are coming up on the next break. We've got more ahead here. Willie Waffle is going to be joining us, wafflemovies.com. He's going to come in and share with us the weekend entertainment news, the streaming, and more. That's all coming up here in just a second. Don't forget, if you're going to be down in the South Peninsula area tomorrow, I'm going to be emceeing the Bear Creek Music Festival here in support of the Student Scholarship Fund for the Homer kids down here in beautiful Homer at Bear Creek. It all starts at 1 p.m. You can get your tickets at eventbrite.com and come down and join us. It'll be a fun time of music and friendship and supporting the kids. Back with more. Willie Waffle up next. Okay. Come on. There you go. Yep, that one right there. Okay. I got everything squared away. Let me go back over here to this next window. Okay. All the phone lines are gone. All right, let me go back to the chat room. Again, you don't understand. Normally I've got, a big wide screen that I can split into two pieces, and I got two more screens up top, and I got one in the back, and I could look at everything at a glance, and now you got to tab through every window on earth to be able to see what's going on here. Except for the federal beef, they will flat ruin you financially and socially. How many firearms and weapons of war did Biden leave to the Taliban? Oh, a few $1 billion worth. Gun Curious. Thank you for the link on that, Brian. I appreciate it. Tomorrow, family restaurant, Matsu. Driving around in a car. Who does that? I do that all the time. It's a thing. There's fresh snow at Arcos Ridge and Governor's Peak. Oh. Have your Rottweilers. Throw it in the passenger seat and have your Rottweiler sit on it. Remember the old steering wheel clubs? Just tack weld a small lockbox to one of those, maybe. Oh man. Is that your summer buzz cut? This is my normal buzz cut. This is my normal high and tight kind of. You can't see it usually because I'm wearing big headphones instead of my earbuds. But this is how my hair is cut 90% of the time, unless I let it go too long, which I have been known to do occasionally. We cover that in every CCW class, Greg says. So good to know. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've attended a concealed carry class, but I think any instructor worth their salt would be having that discussion with their students, is that you've got to plan on what's going on when you get out of the vehicle, and if you have to secure it to go into a gun-free zone. I think that's an important part. Let me go fondle. Okay. So you guys are okay. We're all caught up. Oh, we're all caught up. Getting ready to do our thing. So what are you guys doing this weekend? I mean, I'm already in my mind, I'm already moving on to we're going to do the movies and stuff, and then I'm moving on to the rest of the day. I got a full day ahead of me. What are you guys planning this weekend? Anything good? Anything? I mean, what's happening? Let's talk about it. I mean, I want to know who's going to be coming down here to join me to watch the Bear Creek thing. They're going to have so much good stuff. I just got a partial list of a lot of the auction items that they're going to be auctioning off for the benefit, and then some great music and some great food and some great wine, and I'm hoping, just fingers crossed, that it turns out to be a partially nice and sunny day tomorrow, especially since I wore shorts and I only brought my shorts. I was going to throw my pants in there. I'm like, no, I'm going to be brave. It's going to be warm. And yeah. What was I thinking? I can't wear my fleecy. I do have fleecy pants, but you can't wear fleecy pants on stage. Fleecy. I was in my fleecy pants. I mean, I suppose I could wear my fleecy pants on stage, but how would I live with myself later on? I have no idea whatsoever. Brian's mucking out his shop and rearranging the bedroom closet to make life easier. Yeah, I need to be doing a lot more cleaning myself in the coming weeks. Jeannie is starting her outdoor kitchen. Oh, you got to tell me more about that. What is the outdoor kitchen? Maybe MD needs a CCW refresher course. I wouldn't say no to it. We are spandex on stage. Well, that's nice. I could wear my fleecy pants, but probably not all that appropriate. Fleecy pants are only for Walmart. I swear to God, I went to Walmart. I hardly ever go to Walmart, but I went there it was about a month ago. I remember I needed for something that only they specifically had. And, you always make the joke about the Walmart people on YouTube or on the internet or whatever. And I swear to God, I still saw a couple people that were like literally walking around in their pajamas with slippers on. I'm like, who goes to the store come on, people. Do you have no self-respect? I don't I can't just fathom it. All right. My phone is buzzing. We're ready to go. We're coming back into it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like it, share, like it, follow. Do it all. Okay, let's finish up, shall we? Get ready for the weekend. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's here to tell us all about the good stuff, including entertainment news and the streams. We got some stuff on the streams, but first let's get to the news. Hello, Willie. How you doing, my friend?
I'm feeling pretty good. I am so overjoyed to tell you some of the news that happened this week.
You are so excited. All right, so first things first, I guess. I know what you're going to tell me first. Because Adrian, they're bringing me back, Adrian. Already. We talked about this last week, but they're already going to do it.
That's right. The Family Stallone reality show has already been picked up for season 2. Paramount Plus is claiming that it is the most watched original reality series in the history of Paramount Plus, but they won't actually release numbers and metrics.
Sure.
Just take their word for
right.
it.
The marketing department dreamed that up. I'm sure there's nothing to that at all. You watched it. We talked about it. I'm not going to watch it, but I guess I still can't believe how popular reality TV is. Of all, because we all know that reality TV, there's nothing reality about it, but we're still sucked in. Why, Willie? Why is that the way?
Yeah, I don't get it because I'm with you. We know it's all fake. We know it's all written. I think part of it too is it looks very successful because as the audience splinters, that small number of people that are just dying to learn more about the Kardashians or just dying to learn more about the Stallones looks big.
I guess.
Yeah, well, and usually it's cheap to produce.
Yeah.
So, like Paramount Plus has to love that. And, I don't know if you've noticed this, but this is happening more and more. Now, these companies are really trying to take their original streaming product and put it on like their cable channels and such.
Right.
And Family Stallone's a great example. This is also airing on MTV every week.
Right. Well, I guess it'll be more power to the people. I mean, congratulations for them. Good for them. They're going to get another season. Okay. Martin Scorsese has decided that he's got a great story that's never been told, or the greatest story that has been told, he's got a story.
Martin Scorsese, after visiting with the Pope last weekend, has announced he's going to make a movie about Jesus Christ. Now, remember, he made a movie about Jesus Christ once before. Do you remember 1988? Do you remember The Last Temptation of Christ?
Yeah.
Do you remember the controversy and how Martin Scorsese had to hire bodyguards for a long time just because he couldn't get around without worrying about somebody coming after him? So he's going to give it another run here.
Right.
He says, he had this meeting with the Pope, and they had a conversation. It was a private meeting, and the Pope encourages him and other artists to let us, quote unquote, see Jesus. And so, Scorsese, who is a very religious person, he just a few years ago made that movie Silence,
right,
which was about persecution of Jesuit Christians in Japan in the 17th century. I mean, he's touched on this before, and he says that this is going to be his thing. He's going to write and produce and direct a movie about Jesus. Now, I don't know what the story will be, but it'll be interesting because, come on, he's Martin Scorsese.
Well, I mean, he's a brilliant filmmaker, but yeah, I mean, the misstep with The Last Temptation was, I just, I don't even know, but
I think it was a movie that couldn't come out at that time. I think, when you think about the religious right and the rising of the religious right in the 80s, and kind of the born again Christian movement, the idea that Scorsese was trying to present a movie about challenges to faith by arguing or hypothesizing that Jesus also has been tempted and also had to overcome temptation did not sit well with people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, if you read the book, you have to read between the lines, but he was obviously tempted, right? I mean, so I'm sure it was every kind of temptation you could come up with, and so I don't know. I'm interested to see what the story is. I mean, I thought Mel Gibson with a Passion did an amazing job with that. I don't know if you could redo that. I think that's trodden ground, but we'll have to see what he brings to the table. All right. I know you want me to go to the one thing that you've been just dying to talk about, but what else we got in the entertainment news before I let you off the leash?
So is it time for me to talk about my favorite story?
Okay.
Is it time? It's time.
All right. It's time. Go ahead. All right. Go ahead. Talk about it.
83-year-old Al Pacino this week announced that he's going to be a brand new daddy.
This reminds me, what was I can try to remember what the movie line was that, hey, Charlie Chaplin had kids when he was, it's from Harry Met Sally. Charlie Chaplin had a kid when he was 83 years old. Yeah, but he was too old to pick him up. I mean, is that what we're dealing with here? I mean, Al Pacino, what the heck?
Al Pacino, it will be baby number 4. And the mother is his gal pal, his longtime rumored girlfriend. Well, long time, like 2 or 3 years. The 29-year-old TV producer, Noor Al-Fala, who is currently 8 months pregnant. And you might remember her name because a few years ago, before she dated Al Pacino, she was dating Mick Jagger.
I see. I see where this is going.
they've already started to spin this. Okay, like I'm not kidding. Like all of her friends and all of her contacts, they've been working a publicity kind of push for her,
right?
Pointing out that she is an oil heiress. She kind of has her own money already, and maybe she just likes older guys.
Yeah. Okay. I'll buy that for $1. All right.
Sure.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
hey,
Whatever.
obviously she really likes Al Pacino.
Right. I mean, yeah. Hey, whatever floats your boat, baby. That's whatever you want to do. That's great. And so it's all acknowledged. It's all good. They got a name. What's the deal?
Don't know a name, don't know a sex. We just know that the magic moment is a month or a month and a half away, and the kid will not even be out of high school by the time Al Pacino hits 100 years old.
Why are we talking about this? I mean, why do we even care? But I mean, I guess it's so tawdry to talk about that kind of stuff. All right.
But here's the funny part.
Yeah.
Remember, Robert De Niro announced a few weeks ago that he also has a brand new baby.
Yeah.
And you see Al Pacino picking up the phone going, "Hey, guess what, Bobby?
Yeah.
I'm going to top you."
Yeah. I thought I was out, and then they pulled me back in. All right. Anything else on the entertainment news front before we jump over to the movies?
The only thing I would point out, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the king. He has defeated the queen on Netflix. Arnold Schwarzenegger's new series Fubar was the top-rated series on Netflix this weekend, ending the 3-week reign of Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story.
Oh, man. Okay. I saw the trailer for it. It looks interesting, so we'll have to see what it looks like.
It is a typical Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, except it's an 8-episode series.
Hey, I'm okay with that.
If you like Arnold, you'll like this.
I'm okay with that.
It's kind of goofy. It's silly.
Yeah.
It's got lots of really bad, over bombastic action, sure. And Arnold still maybe isn't always the most sensitive to the ladies.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah. Has it got bad puns? Has it got bad puns? That's all I want to know.
They literally start the whole series with just a list of them. Okay, like they know what you're there for.
I love it. Okay. Well, that's great, Arnold. It's on my to watch list, so we'll see what happens there. All right, let's move over to the movies. We got about 4.5 minutes here. I know that you always love to start out with blood and gore and horror. The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman.
Yeah.
No, okay. So tell me all about this one.
Straight from Stephen King, baby. And it is the story of a recently widowed therapist and his 2 daughters. And wouldn't you know it, they live in this big, creepy old house that just screams, "This house is haunted." And not only that, he's a therapist, and his patients come over to the house.
Oh.
And one just came over to the house and is telling him that he's not the reason his children were murdered. It was the Boogeyman. And wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden things start happening around the house. The creepies, the crawlies, the things that go creaky and cracky in the night. And the Boogeyman's coming after him.
Well, I mean, Stephen King, there hasn't been really a new Stephen King movie in a long time. There's been a couple like made for TV series and some other stuff, but really nothing big. What do you say on the Boogeyman?
This is actually pretty good. I mean, it was really supposed to be a streaming movie, and it got such a good kind of good reactions and test screenings that they decided to go for it. And I think that kind of smaller scale helps it. It really is trying to build on mood. It is really trying to kind of ratchet up the creepiness and ratchet up the danger and ratchet up the horror. Minute by minute, slowly until you get the big reveal, and that's when it kind of maybe feels a little bit of a letdown because you are thinking about what the Boogeyman looks like the entire movie.
Right.
And let's face it, reality can never beat your imagination.
Oh, yeah. Your imagination always does better. That's why, radio, theater of the mind, it's always different. My Boogeyman is different than your Boogeyman kind of thing.
Yeah. But I'm going 3 waffles, and keep your eyes open for Vivian Lyra Blair as the little girl who's the most awesome, scared little girl in the world. And we know this because she was also Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and we loved her there too.
Oh wow! So she's got some chops, because that girl, that girl in the Obi-Wan series, she definitely was not. She was not bad. Let's put it that way. It's good.
No,
good stuff.
she was fantastic.
Yeah. So that's good. All right, and now for you Marvelverse fans, we've got the latest. It's the anime. It's the Ezi Morales Into the Spider-Verse animated movie, which is, I didn't realize what a big deal it was until my kids were like, "You got to watch it. You got to watch it. It's so great." I'm like, okay. So I watched it. And I was like, wow, that was actually really great, the first one. So this is a continuation. Is this a sequel? What's going on here?
So this is a sequel, and I think it's just as fantastic as the first one. I really do. It's set like a year after that movie, which came out, 2 or 3 years ago. Actually, I think even longer than that. But yes, we revisit Miles Morales. Now it's a year later. He's starting to grow into becoming Spider-Man. But because he's still in high school, we see him with the traditional Spider-Man troubles, right? He's trying to balance his parents and school and trying to be a teenager. And now there is a threat that's even bigger than any of them. There's a man who wants to take over all the multiverses. And all the Spider-Men and ladies and Gwen Stacy's are going to have to join together.
Oh, that sounds kind of cool. I mean, I got to be honest. I mean, normally, well, who am I lying? I've been watching a lot of the Star Wars animated shows lately just to kind of get a backfill of some of the old. Some of that stuff is really good, and I really enjoyed it. And the first Spider-Verse movie was a good addition to the canon of the Marvel universe. Especially the multiverse, because it's not Peter Parker, it's Miles Morales, which is from a different universe, and I really appreciated that.
Well, and I just love how it looks. I mean, it looks like a comic book has come to life on the screen.
Yeah.
And I love the way they do that, the way they use the darks and the lights, the way they have the colors changing according to the mood and the tone of the characters in the background. The whams and the bams and the pows, except not that obvious, but drawn action the way you would find it in a comic book. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful. I think it's 3.5 waffles.
Oh, not bad. That's good stuff. All right, Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. 3.5 waffles for Spider-Man and 3 waffles for the Boogeyman. Spider-Man beats Boogeyman every time. That's what I hear. I hear in that answer. What are we doing next week? Quickly.
That would be Transformers. They're back again.
Is it okay? Is it a reboot, or are we waiting for Just Do It? Are we waiting for the kid to come back, or Megan Fox, or what?
It's kind of a reboot. It's just kind of, they're cashing in, baby. I don't know how else to put it.
All right. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Folks, we're out of time for today. We will see you back on Monday. Don't forget to catch me tomorrow if you're in Homer at the Bear Creek Winery Music Festival, benefiting the Kids Scholarship Fund. I'll be down here doing that tomorrow. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be kind. Love one another. And live. We'll see you on Monday or tomorrow.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.